obviously he's a solid fighter. But for me, Tank Davis is in the elite class of boxing right now. You know, he's just in the higher altitudes of the sport.
After weeks of deliberation and turbulence, the fight between the Baltimore Beast, Gervonta Tank Davis, and Lamont Roach has finally reached steady ground as fighters gear up to take on this challenge, especially Tank, who seems to be getting back his groove. Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn, renowned for his keen eye regarding the business aspect of boxing, recently shared his thoughts on this fight and Gervonta's potential future. Addressing the claims that Gervonta might be done with boxing altogether, Eddie emphasized that the main reason that Gervonta might be developing these feelings might be because he is not getting the extravagant fights that he is used to, which usually generates a lot of money and notoriety in the boxing community.
Because now you look at fights like Gervonta against Roach.
Is it going to happen?
I don't know what he's getting paid, but it doesn't generate the kind of money that Gervonta is used to or wants, right? So then it's like a situation where...
Blaming PBC for the mess that they have pushed Gervonta into, Eddie stated that after years of success, they are now pushing their fighters into ludicrous fights, which are not only resulting in damage to their already delicate reputation, but have also caused quite some damage to the fighters' legacies as well, because it is not a good look when a fighter like Gervonta at the peak of his career has to step down to fight someone who will not give him what he truly yearns for. Predicting the disastrous end to this partnership, Eddie resorted to calling PBC some choice words for their recent endeavors, stating that if they don't correct these mistakes, they will be finished very soon.
Now's not the time to go back and, you know, and same with Canelo, they're paying Canelo a fortune.
You know the numbers.
Every time, it's balls on the chopping line stuff, you know? And sooner or later, it don't work. And you do 5 million on a night, and then you're fucked. And that's not the business we're in. So if you want to do that, that's fair enough.
However, despite these reservations regarding the ongoing situation with this fight and Gervonta's next possible move, Eddie emphasized the fact that this upcoming fight between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach is not that bad, based on how Lamont is a very talented and special world champion who is not only stepping up his game, but is also moving up from his super featherweight division to take on a world-renowned fighter and lightweight champion of Gervonta's caliber, which is an admirable fact no matter how much hate and criticism this fight might get from the boxing community due to their bias towards one fighter.
What do you think of the announcement of the Gervonta Davis-Roach fight?
I think that, you know, it's had a lot of criticism, but it's not a bad fight. You know, Lamont Roach is a world champion. He's smaller than Gervonta Davis. The problem is not many people are aware of who he is or his ability, but he can fight. I don't think it's a huge fight, but not a terrible one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to do great numbers, but it's actually a decent fight. Like, Lamont Roach can fight, but he's a super featherweight. Tank's a big lightweight. But it's not a bad fight. Like, Lamont Roach could fight.
Just like Eddie, Teddy Atlas also surprisingly came out in the defense of this fight, despite being labeled as one of the harshest critics of Gervonta Davis in the past. According to the old veteran, the incessant claims regarding this fight being boring and how Tank seems to be ducking major contenders to fight nobodies are nothing but absurd, because after everything that he has achieved in the sport and all the fights that he has participated in, to say that Tank has not fought anyone worthy is ludicrous, and goes on to show how some members in the boxing community have no real knowledge regarding what goes on behind the scenes.
He's fought everyone. People say, oh, he didn't fight. I hear some, thank God I don't really go on the internet too much, because I lose my mind. Well, some of these people say things that are silly.
Oh, it's crazy.
No, they're just silly.
Keyboard warriors.
They're ignorant. Yeah. Like some of them. I mean, some of them are smart, but there's great fans out there.
Yeah,
I give you all the credit in the world. But some of you, oh my goodness, say, oh, he hasn't fought no one. Hasn't fought anyone. What are you talking about?
Teddy further elaborated his thoughts about the fighter and the progress that he has attained so far, emphasizing that after almost 12 years in professional boxing, Gervonta Davis has emerged as a household name who is not only a tremendous fighter, but the skills that he possesses are unprecedented in this era. Appointing him as his top 5 fighters, Teddy went on to state that Gervonta is one of those extremely talented and rare boxers who are all-rounded based on how they seem to possess everything that an immaculate fighter has, ranging from the defense strategies to the immense power and jab, which then moves on to excellent footwork. Teddy also added that with these particular attributes, including Tank's relentless passion and drive, there is no doubt that he is one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters in the history of the sport.
But for me, Tank Davis is in the elite class of boxing right now. You know, he's just in the higher altitudes of the sport. He's in the top 5 for me. You know, when you talk about the top 5 best pound for pound right now, you're saying so. He's there not just because he's a puncher, because he's an all-around package. You know, he can box, he can counter punch, he can go get you, he can go to the body, go to the head, put punches together. His defense is responsible, he's patient, you know, he's mentally together.
Championing Tank to win this upcoming fight with Lamont, Teddy stated that even though Lamont is a good fighter who has his own strong points and attributes, he is not comparable to the greatness of Tank, making this fight very one-sided in the favor of Gervonta, who will persevere this time as well. But one aspect that Teddy did highlight was the unpredictability of this game, and how at certain times when two good contenders enter the ring to fight one another, sometimes there can be a lot of surprises that might end up shocking the world.
Give me your thoughts on that one.
I happen to think, listen, Roach, well, obviously he's a solid fighter. As I said, he's a top guy. So obviously I'm going to favor him. I mean, anything can happen when you're in there with another solid guy.
Being on the same page as Teddy regarding Gervonta being an excellent fighter who has the right to make his own choices when it comes to picking his opponents. Professional American boxer and former IBF lightweight champion of the world, Mickey Bay believes that Gervonta's upcoming fight with Lamont is not that bad of a match, as people might make it out to be based on that fact that Lamont is an exceptional fighter who is also a world champion, now moving to face a worthy opponent in the form of Gervonta Davis. And for Tank, there is nothing wrong in choosing an opponent like Lamont, because after everything that he has invested in the sport, he has the right to make these kinds of choices without being labeled as a cherry picker who ducks major fights in fear of getting beaten down.
You know what? Tank is Tank do his thing, man. I ain't gonna lie. Like, he closed the show and he get the people what they want. You can't say it's a cherry pick because dude is a young, hungry champion. And it makes sense. They from like the same. They from the DMV area.
They arguably the same size.
It ain't a cherry pick. We wanted to see him with another fighter, but at the same time, this one you could say, all right, I'll take that. Dude got a good record. He a champion. They from the same area. It make business sense. I think Tank, other than Canelo, Tank is probably maybe the most like fighter where people excited to see.
Calling this fight a good one in terms of the business that it might do, Mickey stated that although a bout like this might not garner the same kind of attention as Tank's previous endeavors, this fight will be quite an attraction, especially for the boxing fans belonging to Baltimore, because they will get to witness their stars fight one another in a major boxing event. Keeping up with this analogy, Mickey added that Gervonta garnering attention around a fight has never been a strenuous task, because no matter what he does, he is always able to get the attention of the whole fan base towards himself.
So you can't, that's what the question you just asked me about business. That's a business move. When we said what's the difference between business to, you know, the business side of boxing. Yeah. He giving us something where it's all right, it's a good fight, but it make business sense because they both from the same town. I ain't sure if they gonna, wherever they do it, it's gonna make sense, whether it's Vegas or their hometown, but I like it. It's a good fight.
Sharing his thoughts on how this bout will conclude, Mickey predicted that the fight will end in a stoppage victory for Tank, emphasizing that despite Lamont being a notable name in the featherweight community, Tank will always have an upper hand, especially in this case because for the last couple of days, the fighter's old spirit has been rejuvenated and he seems to under the fire, pushing him to go out and to prove to the world that he and always will be one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of this era. Mickey also added that only a real threat and a beast like Shakur Stevenson or Lomachenko can take down Tank at this stage that he is in.
I see Tank by stoppage, man. You know, it's his time right now, man. It's gonna take, you know, somebody like a Shakur. I would have liked to see him with Lomachenko, but Loma, you know, I guess Loma didn't want that fight, so it's gonna take somebody real crafty to go them 12 rounds with with Tank, because Tank is real, he on fire right now.
Moving on, many prominent analysts in the industry are pointing out the certain transformation in Tank's demeanor over the last couple of months, stating that the supposed anger that he has been feeling at the boxing community, especially the major stakeholders that he is involved with, might be boiling down to him now hyper-focusing on this fight for not only the sake of proving his critics wrong, but also to see whether he still has the passion left to continue on in such a demanding sport. Demonstrating this change, Tank took to his Instagram to debut his new cool look, along with a brief message stating that even though many people might decipher his passion and focus as anger and frustration, at the end of the day, everything that he does is for the sport and his legacy. Preparing for the challenge up ahead, Tank and his team have officially started this fight camp and have shared numerous videos on his social media platforms to show the world that Tank is prepared for everything and will not back down from a challenge, no matter how he might be up against. Eminent for his exceptional fighting skills that include almost all the aspects of boxing, like defense, jabs, and the overall stance. At this stage, Tank is focusing on his conditioning and polishing these skills further on to make sure that on fight night, he enters the ring in the best condition possible. While sharing his thoughts on the improvements that the lightweight champion has undergone in just a few days, well-known reporter and social media analyst Blue from Blue Blood Sports revealed some key factors that might have contributed to this drastic shift. Looking at the weight measurements that were performed by the Tank's team just a few days ago, Blue reported that according to countless alleged sources, Tank has almost already achieved his contractual weight of 135 pounds and that he is now focused on working on his skills and getting in even better shape.
Gervonta Tank Davis, who is a 5-time world champion, undefeated 3-division world champion, who is 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 28 wins by way of knockout, 30 years of age, 5'5" with a 67-inch arm reach.
Now, although this might not be too surprising of a fact for many people who are quite new to the sport and the logistics behind it, looking at the specifics of this fight, it is quite astounding that Tank was able to achieve this feat in such a small bracket of time, and now seems to be channeling his anger into more useful means, which seems to be getting better and better with every passing day until March 2nd. That makes him an even scarier opponent to go up against.
Tank is already just 4 pounds away from his weight, and the fight is not until March 1st. Almost 3 months, which means Tank Davis, who is very frustrated with his situation, how he's being treated, he's very frustrated with the sport of boxing right now. Dare I say he's even angry. He's locked in, he's focused. He's not a happy camper. He's solely focusing on skill set, sharpening his skills, sharpening his tools, game plan, strategy, and Lamont Roach Jr. himself. That's extremely scary.
Just like the majority of the community, Blue predicted that this fight will not go to its full length and will most probably conclude earlier on in the first couple of rounds, based on the fact that after all the preparation that Tank had done and the weight he already seems to have, there is no way that Lamont Roach will ever be able to withstand any attacks that the vicious fighter might direct his way. Labeling Tank as a fighter with a steel chin, Blue highlighted that even though Lamont is a decent fighter, he lacks power in his jabs, and his techniques are a little crooked as well, which is not a good thing when you are up against someone who is notorious for his ability to crack down even the most hardest of adversaries.
I don't see this fight going past 6 rounds. 7 rounds at best. And that's if Tank Davis is extremely, extremely patient. Lamont Roach is not a big puncher. He's a sharp puncher, but he's not a big puncher. Tank Davis has a granite chin. And the fact that Tank Davis is already on weight, which means he's going to be fully hydrated, he's fully motivated, and he wants to put a statement out there. and Lamont Roach is in front of him.
Being on this particular subject, Blue revealed another crucial fact that might come in to play a significant role in this fight. Sharing this with these viewers, Blue stated that this might not be the first time that the two fighters have collided based on the fact that both Tank and Lamont have a similar background and come from the same roots, resulting in them also facing one another before in the amateurs, which not only provides Tank with enough knowledge regarding Lamont's fighting style and the tactics that he might utilize, but it also gives him the certain insight regarding his opponent's power and punching techniques.
Lamont Roach Jr. and Tank fought twice in the amateurs, which means Tank is familiar with Lamont Roach. Now, they were 16, but he understands his power, at least to a certain degree. Now, I'm pretty sure Lamont Roach got stronger, but how much stronger?
While addressing these statements regarding his previous amateur fights with Tank, Lamont recently stated how even though he has fought many prominent names in the industry, as is the current WBA super featherweight champion of the world, people and many experts tend to undermine him, labeling him as an easy fight for Tank, which is quite disrespectful based on the fact that he has faced Tank 2 times before during their days as amateurs, and even came close to winning the first fight by using his proficient skills and acute awareness inside the ring.
I fought Gervonta Davis twice. Shout out to Tank. I fought Tank twice.
How'd that go?
I lost both times. The first one was a little. No, both they on YouTube. You can go watch it. The first one I fought him in Baltimore. The first one was in the it was in the regional junior Olympics. And,
Okay.
During one of his interviews, Lamont also ventured into the topic of how he is not like the other fighters that Tank has faced so far. Elaborating on his statement, Lamont added that after analyzing the fight between Frank Martin and Gervonta, it is quite evident that the fighter that Tank was up against in that fight was quite nervous and did not really present any challenge, which allowed Tank to get an upper hand in the earlier stages of the game and to return around the whole thing. Clarifying that he will not be fighting in the same manner, Lamont vehemently emphasized that going into this big fight, he will be prepared for every possible thing that Tank might throw his way, and how after all the hard work that he has done in the gym, he will be entering the ring as a confident fighter.
Why was it so easy when he fought Frank Martin?
Frank Martin was inexperienced and nervous. You know, it is what it is. It's going to be a different fight when I'm in there. He's going to be a different fighter when he's fighting.
Looking forward to beating down Tank with a glorious knockout, Lamont stated that even though he likes to fight till the very last round without easting any breath on any shenanigans, this time around he will be looking out for a good stoppage victory that will not only humble the cocky fighter and will show him to not underestimate his opponents, but he will also show the world how great of a fighter he is, that he took down a world-class fighter and how far he has come from his early amateur days in boxing.
What's your game plan?
I'm always looking for a knockout. No matter what, I'm always prepared for 12 rounds. But I'm always looking for a knockout, and if I get the chance, I'm going to try to knock his head off.
Meanwhile, Kenny Ellis, who is a major component of Gervonta's team, thinks that history will repeat itself, and that just like all the previous amateur fights or the sparring sessions between the two fighters, Tank will once again persevere with a more spectacular victory this time around. Believing this fight to be a good event for both the fighters, Kenny added that even though both the fighters have grown from their last meeting and have shown tremendous improvements in the last couple of years, when it comes to taking down a beast as ferocious as Tank, no matter how much a fighter might have improved, or no matter how much more intelligent they might have gotten, they can never take him down.
How you feeling about this fight?
I feel good, man. You know, same old, same old. They got amateur history. They fought maybe 2 or 3 times. Tank being the winner. They sparred a few times. Tank got the best of the sparring. They just bigger and stronger now, you know? Older.
Being someone close to Tank and aware of the ongoing debate in the media regarding Tank's choice of opponents, Kenny stated that even though people try to paint Tank as this cherry picker who has been ducking all the good fighters, the reality is quite the opposite, because based on the last couple of months, all these big names that people keep on bringing up have actually been ducking Tank despite countless offers being made from his side. Also thinking that many people in the industry might be underestimating Lamont, Kenny added that even though the young fighter is not that renowned in the game, he is a formidable opponent who has an immaculate record and knows how to present a worthy challenge inside the ring.
Yeah, but it's not Tank's fault. You know, the guys with the so-called names, they turn Tank down, they price themselves out. And because people don't know Lamont, he's not as popular, they think he can't fight, but Lamont can fight. And he got a hell of a pedigree, you know, 7-time national champion, and he's tough.
So in the end, what do you guys think about this upcoming fight? Do you agree that this might not be a commercial success and that Tank might be making a huge mistake by accepting this offer? Or do you believe that these concerns are invalid and that this fight will be quite entertaining for the fans? Make sure to tell us about your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to our channel.